Soul Garden. Live, love, be.
Good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day. From my smartphone to yours, I'm Caston Love from the Serious Joy Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California. This is your Thursday Namaste Today. Having trouble finding that special soulmate? Oh, I know. Are you ready to find love? So what do you think your ideal mate is? This I can solve for you. Check out Secrets of Birthdays, the Love and Lust Report at secretsofbirthdays.com. Good morning and Namaste, and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Christopher Witecki. My modality is psychic astrology. My mission is to stand in my heart and help other people stand in theirs. This webisode is for Thursday, March 17th, 2016, and it is St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. And today, the Great Human Walk has reached step 27, Pisces. Well, friends, hello. So grateful to be of soul service. I want to say thanks to all the people who've left comments on my website at soulgarden.tv. We have a nice community there. A lot of people chiming in, sharing information, supporting each other. I'm super proud to be a host there. So come on down and leave your mark if you haven't already. And today it's St. Patrick's Day. I think it's so funny because Pisces is the cliche of drinking and escaping. And of course, St. Patrick's Day is the epitome of that, right? So it really falls in and chimes in. But whether you're Irish or not, I'm saying happy St. Patrick's Day to you. And I'm also saying I don't have to wear green. I'm surrounded by green. I think going out in the green is good enough, but I'm so grateful that there is a holiday that celebrates green because green is healthy and green is good. So that said, a shout out to my Lightwalker friend, Mary Beth Murphy. Today she has a new episode coming out here on soulgarden.tv of Energy to Angels, where she's teaching about the angels of faith. So the angels of faith would be what you pray to when you are lacking faith or need help with your faith being supported. But Mary Beth goes deeper into this, so if you have issues with faith, check this episode out. So let's move on to today's vibe. Today's vibe will be sunny and overly ambitious. Perhaps magically delicious, but definitely overly ambitious. That's because step 27 rules the day. This is the Grandmaster step of ego. So Grandmaster step of ego at step 27 means that we try to make the final step. In your life, it's time to put spirit into action. It's time to act on what you have spiritually decided in the last 24 hours. Stand up in your spiritual integrity and act. Now, everyone feels this action energy, and this is why there might be a few bar fights later on tonight, you know what I mean, when there's too much alcohol in the system and people are acting and reacting. So you want to channel this energy to feel strong today. You want to channel this energy to stand up today. And in some cases, not reacting is acting. Not reacting is acting. And in Pisces, when you're undoing karma, not reacting is definitely acting because you're ending karmic patterns. So today, my heart is excited. I can't wait. I feel relieved. I feel stronger. I feel less anxiety, less tension. These are all step 27 Pisces, I think, vibrations that we feel. I'm feeling extremely passionate. Adding on the alcohol potential is the moon in Cancer, making us super passionate and a whole bunch of emotional for other reasons. Now, we cleared out our bottom stuff, but we are definitely now, can fall into the hope or the fears for the future and stuff like that. So manage your emotions, folks. I'm open to what works. That's because Venus is at step 6 Pisces. So I'm open to what works, particularly what works spiritually, right? And I'm thinking about step 21, where it starts to get fun. Mercury's at step 21. So this is another interesting thing. Mercury's at step 21 on St. Patrick's Day when we all go out. So it's kind of interesting. But our mind is ready for the new beginning. Our mind is ready to cross the bridge. I am pushing ahead with my personal beliefs at Mars, step 3 Sagittarius. And I am learning how to intuitively decide what's best for my life. That's because Saturn is at step 17 of Sagittarius. I am learning how to intuitively decide. See, this Jupiter is at step 17 of Virgo. Sorry about that. Wrong reference. My mind actually just went off just there because I was thinking to myself while I was talking, which I shouldn't do, that I should explain, this little graphic where we put up the planet and we say where the steps are. This is so you can start to see the sentence. I believe that a step number in a sign pretty much reads like a sentence. So to go back to Jupiter at step 17, Jupiter is I am learning. Okay, to love and intuitively decide. That's 17. Intuitively decide adds to an 8, and that's basically me making a sentence out of the step if you want to know. So if you want to learn this stuff, I'll remind you guys that that's what this is. So today, your joy quest, should you choose to accept it, is act on what works, pass on what does not. Act on what works, pass on what does not. And I really think that's the true definition of step 27. We are feeling it, and we are sensing it. We are feeling what works, we're sensing what doesn't work, and that's basically what we want to hold today, those two states, and go with what works and deny what doesn't work. So act on what works, pass on what does not. And now let's move on to today's topic, where I'm going to bring up something that I think is important before you go out and disconnect. Today's topic is spiritual quicksand, a look at the nodes. And if you don't know, I'm going to go into what the nodes are. The nodes are basically mathematical placements in your chart, points in your chart. And the nodes are important because I believe that the south node is our spiritual quicksand. In other words, there's a place in the chart, in the natal chart, in the astrological zodiac wheel, or in the 360 degrees of human conscious awareness, which is what there are, 360 degrees of human conscious awareness. There are parts of this awareness in which we get trapped. We get there, we fall in this one little degree of consciousness, and we can't get out, and we start to sink, and we start to fall into our past, and it's almost like our kryptonite spot. But I think it's more quicksand because it slowly pulls you down, and it can be terrifying. All right? And this is known as the south node. But before we get into the south node and north node and all of that, let's first ask the 5 o'clock question and help you play along at home. Now, which state of awareness in your life do you think traps you most? Which state of awareness do you think traps you most? And if you don't know, the 12 states of awareness are the 12 signs. But I don't really think people think of it in signs. Is it your intellect? Is it your emotion? Is it your subconscious? Is it your boundary making or not making? Is it your ego that traps you? Okay, these are all the different 12 states of awareness. Which one always traps you? And the follow-up, why that one? Why does that one trap you? Okay, so I'll answer this question and explain why. First of all, which state of awareness traps me the most? I would say that I was trapped by my mind the most growing up. Always in my mind, trapped by my mind, but I was also trapped in anxiety too, but I didn't realize I was trapped in anxiety. I was trapped in emotion as well, but I thought that was because of my mind. Now, why did it trap me the most? Well, a lot of reasons. I had illness issues and things like that, but mostly I worried a lot. I was a wise sensei, always worried about everything and everyone, and it triggered a lot. Now, I bring this up because as in my work as an astrologer, I find that the state of awareness that traps you the most is often associated with the south node. So if you know your natal chart, the south node is usually the state of awareness that traps you the most. In other words, once that state gets going, you can't stop. You just kind of get stuck in it, and that's the whole point. So you don't have to always know astrology to kind of figure out where do I get stuck and start to unstuck you. Incidentally, one of the cool things about astrology is there is a north node, which is the opposite of the south node, which is like the rope that pulls you out of the quicksand. So when you hold on to your north node, you get pulled out. The south node is where you get stuck. All right? So that said, let's talk about what they are. First of all, the nodes, just to educate you really quickly, are basically a magical place, magical meaning like mathematical. We have what we call the ecliptic arc. The ecliptic arc is the path of the sun across the sky. So if you were to just map the sun out with dots all day long, that would be the ecliptic line. Then the moon also has its own path, which is not the same path as the sun. And at some point, these ecliptics cross. okay? And that X marks the spot of the north node, okay? Where the two cross and where the two cross on the south, all right? So this marks in the chart, which is interesting if you want to think about it from a metaphysical perspective. The heart is the sun, and the moon is the emotion, right? So we're talking about the point in imaginary lines, because it's not the actual natal chart. It's an imaginary place where the heart and emotions come together. That's the north node. But it's also an imaginary place on the south side where the heart and emotions come together. That's the south node. So that's where the heart and emotions are, or the heart and emotions are like, yay, okay? That's basically simple. So the north node is your way out. In your chart, if you see your north node, it is the way out of your condition in your life. I always say the north node is the spiritual posture God is asking you to take. So your midheaven is the sign you're working to be, but your north node is the posture you use to get to where you're going. All right? So in my case, I'll just share, my north node is in Capricorn. So I have to get out of my south node, I need to make decisions, Capricorn. Decisions will do it. A decision. All right? Very cleanly, or taking leadership for myself. My south node is in Cancer, or emotion, and that's my quicksand. In fact, as I grew older, I realized I was actually getting stuck in the emotion and feeling trapped by my emotion, and my mind was scrambling to fix it and could never, because it was the emotion that needed to be fixed. And for those of you who know my work and the years of work I've done, you probably know I do a lot of work with helping people get back in touch with their emotion and take control of their life. That's because of my nodes. It's pretty obvious. So the north node is what pulls us out, is the spiritual posture that we take to be released from the quicksand. And the south node is the quicksand. So quicksand meaning if you don't do something with yourself when you're in that state of awareness, something in addition to just that state, you're going to start to sink. If I just let myself sit there in emotion and do nothing, I get sicker and sicker, and I eventually sink. In essence, your north and south nodes are basically your answers in like 9 out of 10 of your problems. So it's like, if you're having a problem with the car, your wife, you're this, you're that. Okay, are you getting stuck in the south node? Are you holding on to the north node? If you aren't doing those two things, don't talk to Sensei. All right, so always look to this and do your soul research and see what yours is. And then lastly, I'll just say as a final interesting note that in my research as an astrologer, I've noticed that quite often the south and north nodes coordinate with the prenatal solar and lunar eclipses. Prenatal solar and lunar eclipse. And a prenatal solar eclipse I'll bring up another day and talk about, but the fact that they often line up is just like a very detailed, rich part of your past life story. Because your south node is literally the state of awareness that you get stuck in from a past life, and definitely tells a lot of past life story. The lunar eclipse, prenatal lunar eclipse, tells us where you're just completely emotionally blind. And usually the two give quite a story to an astrologer about where your past is and where your future is going. Some people believe that the north node is your future life. I disagree. I actually think that midheaven is the sign or state of awareness that you're working to become in this life, and north node is the posture you should take to get there. All right, my friends. Hope you enjoyed that little 7-minute introduction on the nodes and spiritual quicksand. Let's now move on to today's Zen Den. And welcome to the Zen Den. Today I'm surrounding you with royal blue and beautiful light and bringing golden light between us. And let's take 3 breaths to connect to spirit and see what planet pops up. Yes, came up very strongly. I'll just share right now. It was Mars. We'll talk about Mars. So if you got Mars, you're with me there. And today's affirmation, I feel what works today. I sense what doesn't. And so it is. I feel what works today. I sense what doesn't. And so it is. And like I said earlier, that is the magic formula of step 27. Do not act unless it feels right and you don't sense a warning from God. If it feels right and you sense no warning, you go. All right? If you sense a yes, you definitely go too. But usually warnings are the best thing to kind of sense out. So let's look at our St. Patrick's Day planet, shall we? We have today Mars ruling the day. So I wasn't surprised at all when Spirit said to me, Mars is what we want to talk about. Open this up just a little bit for you guys. Step 27 means we add to a 9, which is ego. It's what we feel, what we sense, adding to a 9. And the moon today is in Cancer again in the high degrees. Here, look at this. Step 1121, when it starts to get fun, the moon is at 22 degrees Cancer. So it's like totally that. It's just, things get always crazy at the time I was born. But in essence, what happens here is the sun in Pisces trines the moon in Cancer, and so all day we bring our emotions get ramped up, passionate, intense, and ready to fly. Now, what is charging our emotions, or maybe charging them with something that could be interpreted as negative or dangerous? Mars, the ego. The dumbass is ruling at the end of the day. So if you don't know how you feel and you don't know what you're sensing, a lot of people will act. They'll move into this third state and they'll act without feeling or sensing. And that's where you have dumbass behavior, okay? Mars himself is at step 3, which means, until we get to step 4, which will be even crazier breakdown, until we're going to have a lot of chaos of people arguing over what they believe. Everyone's very righteous, and the ignorant people are very righteous too. They will stay righteous until they find out they're wrong. All right? So you have to get out of their way. You got to be careful, and you got to be know what you believe yourself and stick to your own kind. Stick to the people that believe. I wouldn't go to a Trump rally if you didn't support Donald Trump, is what I'm saying. Now, Venus is at step 6. That is very cozy. That makes everybody want to drink too. Okay? Venus is step 6. That's the 6. I always say it's super 6y. That's a 6y step. A lot of people have a lot of 6 in step 6. I'm just saying. And it's because they want to receive. You open. You ready. So Venus is a Grandmaster step. It's in Pisces. Loose lips sink ships at step 6. All right. So that 20 times and do a shot. Saturn is at step 16. And by the way, I probably will not be out drinking tonight, despite all of my drinking references. Just want to say that. So I don't want people to feel pushed out there. This is the cliche. But the 6 is also where we're opening up. So our responsibility adds to a 7. And the one thing I just want to point out with all these 7s in Pisces is Neptune, the granddaddy of denial. Now, Neptune is at step 10, which means we are now manifesting our spiritual platform. But the granddaddy of denial means that when you get all this ego and you get information that you're sensing, step 7, like, oh gosh, I think my wife's cheating on me, or, that truth comes in, and then your emotions, the two, don't know how to deal with all that. That's when people do dumb things. And in Pisces, they usually just want to escape, like, get me out of here, get me out of here. That's the two fish swimming both ways. That's because whenever Pisces energy doesn't like what it likes, it turns around and goes the other way. Okay, like, it was my father. I just brought up an interesting one. My father is screwing with me right now because just this image of my father when he was swimming. He once we were gonna do a swimming, literally a swimming. Race. We're gonna race across the pool, and we jump in and start racing. And I'm swimming and swimming. My heart, everything is hurting. I finally get to the other side. I'm like, did I win? I don't even see my dad. Where's my dad? Is he swimming? He actually turned halfway somehow and went to the side of the pool and claimed that he won. And I was like, you Pisces. He turned halfway. He literally turned halfway. That was his senses. But that's Pisces energy. It goes back and forth and back and forth. So today, everyone's going to go back and forth. Everyone's going to feel it. Use the ego to be strong, but don't get suckered into your quicksand. All right? All right, I think that's a good way to end. It's getting a little dark here in Southern California because I am pushing it here. Friends, I am so grateful to be of soul service to you. If you're watched over my personal Sensei service, I'm going to help you with that north and south node configuration. Look for your eye candy at 3 p.m. your local time, where I'll be talking about where it is your north is pointing and your south is pointing. So I'll talk about what your quicksand is, and I'll identify the rope you need to hang on. That's at 3 o'clock. Look for that before you do anything stupid. And as you know, I've been putting out my Secrets of Birthdays commercials because we are now selling Secrets of Birthdays. It's $19.95. It's 20 minutes. And from what we heard from all the people who get one free when they join my personal Sensei, that it's like 98% accurate. So check it out for yourself if you want. It's a great little starter gift for yourself. All right, friends, that's all I have for your St. Patrick's Day special. I will see you tomorrow with your special Friday episode. Until then, remember, I love you and live, love, be.